And those companies, they rewarded those shareholders by creating great products and services, servicing those customers with brands. But over the last couple of years, there's been organizations like BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard that have pushed this new model of stakeholder capitalism, asking companies like Anheuser-Busch to be accountable to all these so-called stakeholders, political organizations, activist organizations. And they do that by implementing ESG, or environmental social governance policies, in corporations that ask them to get involved in these controversial issues. But unfortunately, when you try to be everything to everyone, you end up being accountable to no one.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Wired here. I hope you guys are all having a great day. And yes, once again, I am back with another Bud Light video, as somebody has finally started to come out and speak a little bit of sense. In this article, again from Fox News, former Anheuser-Busch executive slams inauthentic Bud Light for having lost track of the consumer. Finally, somebody is brave enough to go against the woke mob, the leftists, the left of the leftists. Sorry, it's a tongue twister for me. And saying that this has gone too far. And I think a lot of us are thinking it. I know a lot of you are out there voting with your wallets. I know a lot of people have commented in all the videos I've done saying, I will never buy Bud Light again, never Budweiser again, never any Anheuser-Busch products again. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. This company has completely lost what it was built upon. America first, the Clydesdale horses, those nice frogs that did Budweiser. I'm sorry, I have a really terrible frog impression. But there's finally somebody speaking some sense. It just looks inauthentic when they're all of a sudden getting involved in these social campaigns, the former Anheuser-Busch president of the U.S. operation said. Finally, somebody speaking some truth. The ex-president of the U.S. operation, Anheuser-Busch, recently claimed that his former company made a huge mistake in making Dark Wizard one of its Bud Light spokespersons for last month. Again, people are getting sick of having dark wizardry shoved down their throats. Some people are Gryffindor, some are Ravenclaw, some are Hufflepuff. We don't all want to be Slytherin. We don't all want to accept Slytherin. We're all a little bit different here. Probably not the best analogy, but I'm sticking with this because I can't actually say Lord Voldemort's name on YouTube without risk of being demonetized, copyright striked, having my video taken down. So I'm just being very careful, but I'm sure you're all going to figure out what I'm saying by the end if you haven't watched any of my videos. And if you haven't, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. It helps out with the algorithm. Let's keep going. Anzen Freirix, I can't say last names, I'm very sorry, who held the top-level position at the beer company until 2022, claimed that the move to partner with biological male-turned-dark wizard Lord Voldemort goes against Bud Light's historic brand identity, and thus the company lost track of the consumer. 100%, exactly. I think we all remember the 9/11 ads. We all remember the Clydesdale horses, the frogs, the Bud Night. You know, Bud Light has had a ton of great commercials, a ton of great branding, things that made people want to drink their I'm going to be very kind here, subpar beer. And they've lost that. Excuse the cars going by and live on a busy street. Now the brand just looks inauthentic to its consumer base, Freirix said. The former Anheuser-Busch executive, who's the co-founder and co-president of Strive Asset Management, along with 2024 Republican Party presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy, provided the brutal observations to the New York Times in a piece published Tuesday. Statements were published just after news broke that Bud Light sales were down a whopping 17% in the wake of conservative backlash to the company's LGBTQIA XYZ friendly partnership with Voldemort. Before providing Freirix's take, the Times mentioned Wharton School, Professor Amicus Reed's assessment that brands like Bud Light embracing woke marketing tactics is another way to differentiate yourselves in a competitive marketplace. And I would 100% agree with that. You have definitely differentiated yourself in the marketplace. Now, Miller's Light, Coors Light, Yingling, they're all up and they didn't have to do anything. And they're throwing parties about it. And they should. How often do you take a W for doing nothing? Good for them. They have got to be very happy right now. And as Bud Light sales show no signs of recovery, it just keeps ticking down and down and down, and it will peter off eventually. But for right now, they have got to be hurting. Reed provided the example of ice cream company Ben & Jerry's, which leans heavily left, embracing this strategy. Then suddenly that bucket is not just cream and sugar, it's something else. Exactly. Companies like this who have no advantage to getting involved into politics should not get involved. Same thing I would say with, religion. You shouldn't get involved in it if it doesn't serve any sort of purpose, because you're going to alienate a huge percentage of your consumer base. And for what? Yeah, you might get a couple new customers, but how many you're going to lose? Strategically, when you're marketing something, you want to gain customers while not losing any of the customers you already have. That's, actual growth. This, you've probably gained a couple, people, I'm not going to lie, but you've lost 17% of your business. The outlet followed Reed where Frericks claimed that logic didn't necessarily hold for his former company. I would 100% agree. There's an authenticity element, Ben & Jerry's, blah, blah, blah. I don't really care about that. However, he explained how Anheuser-Busch doesn't have a progressive identity, which is why it suffered over the Mulvaney move. Yeah, 100%. You were so out of touch that Alyssa Heinerschneid, the people above her, the people below her, whoever is involved in it, you don't even understand who is buying your product. I don't even know if it's just conservatives, maybe predominantly, but I think there's a lot of moderates who are also upset about this. I think people on the left who are not so far left, they're just so far gone, are probably on board with this too. According to the Times, he characterized his former company as a behemoth of a brand with a customer base that was historically divided more or less evenly between the two sides of the country's increasingly stark partisan divide. That's probably where you want to be. In addition, he pointed out how Bud Light has always had an identity associated more with the Clydesdale Americana and humorous Super Bowl commercials than social justice. That's how I remember them anyway. And I think probably a lot of you listening, probably a lot of you remember them as well. Former executives stated, when you have these large corporations that have a historic brand identity, it just looks inauthentic when they're all of a sudden getting involved in these social campaigns. He added that his former company has lost track of the consumer by making the trans person one of their spokespeople. Yeah, 100%. PR expert and CEO strategist Vision PR Group David Johnson made a similar argument in an interview with Fox News Digital earlier this month, claiming that Bud Light is suffering because of the Voldemort partnership has gone against its brand identity. Now, I'm reminded of a quote here from Arnold Rothstein, who knew a lot about sling and hooch back in the 1920s, was a very big prohibition person. And the quote goes, "Reputation takes a lifetime to build, but only seconds to destroy." And I think that's very true. And how Bud Light, Anheuser-Busch, Budweiser is going to recover from this remains to be seen. Personally, I'm totally fine with them going down. Somebody needs to take a stand against this, make an example of these people, stand up for real women, and stop involving themselves in politics when there's no need. Anyway, that's all I got for you. Please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. If you wouldn't mind, leave a comment down in the comment section if you're still drinking Bud Light, and if it's made you feel a little weird lately. That's all I got for you today. Thank you for listening this long, and I will talk to you in the next one. Later.